Hello everyone, and welcome to our first evening of the Intuitive Path. Thank you all so much for being here, whether you're joining live or you're watching the recording. We're all connected energetically. Time and space doesn't matter as much as we think it does. Yeah, you're really, really welcome. Please feel free to take a moment and get yourself settled. Feel at home within your space, within your body. Um, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take us into just a very quick kind of little bit of breathing and meditation just so that we all feel nice and centered and present. This is an invitation for you to set down the things that are spinning through your mind, the things that you think you need to be focused on or worrying about, the things that you're putting a whole bunch of like your mind into, when actually your intuition might have some better information for you. You are really welcome to set that aside, and know that you can come back to it later if you feel like you need to. Again, answers may come through. You can set some intentions for that as well. So I'm going to invite you to either close your eyes or soften your gaze. Closing your eyes is great because it kind of takes us out of some of these kind of beta, more conscious brain waves. It kind of starts, your body just naturally starts to settle and go into a calmer, more meditative state. So if you want to close your eyes and just take in a few full breaths, full body breaths. Imagine that as you're breathing in, your entire body is being nourished by that breath. And as you're breathing out, all your energy is being cleansed and cleared. And I want you to imagine that your muscles are just starting to relax. Your mind starts to feel a little bit more calm, a bit more at ease. You might feel your spine or your skeletal system wanting to realign a little bit. You might feel some tension releasing from your jaw, your lower back, your hips. And we're not really doing anything here. What's happening is that when you allow yourself to be more present, to be more at peace, your body just naturally starts to readjust. So just notice what you notice as your mind is calmer, as your body's more at ease. And I want you to just imagine that your energy is beginning to expand. And you can expand out through your home. You can expand out through this world. You can expand out into outer space, into the universe, as wide as and big as you want to go. Because remember that we are energy. And it's actually in that spaciousness that we're more open to receiving. It's easier to be a clearer channel for information, for guidance. We are less fixed in our identities and in our thinking mind. So just keep noticing your body feeling lighter, more expanded, more at ease. And if you have any intentions for today, anything that you would like to just heal, to resolve, if there's aspects of your life where you've been seeking answers, seeking clarity, whatever it is you feel like you've been trying to find or trying to answer or trying to create, you can set the intention that the answers are here now. You can set the intention that it's simpler than you think it is, that there's more ease with whatever you're doing. If there's anything that's felt lacking or out of reach, set the intention that it's here for you now. You don't have to figure out all the details or know how it's going to work. Just see if you can open yourself up to a willingness that it can. And if there are any aspects of your intuition, your senses that you would like to evolve, that you would like to feel stronger or easier, set that intention too. Right. Just taking a few deep breaths. There's no rush. But whenever you feel ready, return to the group, return your focus here. And again, if you feel like you'd like to sit for a few more moments with your eyes closed, absolutely, this is the place for it. All right. So just a quick hello to everyone. Stacy and Kirsten, good to be here. Yes, eating dinner, love it. Allison, nice to be connecting again. Camera's off in bed. Go for it. You enjoy that. Oh, was the video disabled by me? Okay, I did not mean to do that. I'll see if I can change that. Um, I'll make sure that's working for tomorrow. Thank you for letting me know that. It's good for me to know. Hello, Jeanette. Hello, Pam, in New Hampshire, I think, if that's what NH is. NH is. Yeah, it's definitely cold and rainy in Edinburgh. Ava, Leona, Katya, joining from Morningside, just down the road. Leslie in Inverness. Blowy in Glasgow and Grumbly Dog beside you. Yeah, I hear you. Carrie's getting battered by the wind in Butte. Oh my gosh, yeah. So the weather is doing its thing in Scotland. Yeah, yes. Kirkcaldy is Tanya, Stuart in Pennycook, Tracy in Bollock, Marion in Newcastle. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. Yeah, and I think there's maybe some volume issues, but hopefully that's getting sorted out and worked out. If there is an issue, like if the sound goes, because this microphone had a little glitch the other day, but I think it should be fine. But if anything goes wrong, put a hand up or send a message through. I'll get it going or I'll take it out. Right, let's dive in. So yeah, so lots of friendly faces and people that I know, welcome back. Thank you for being here. And some new people as well. So just for anyone who doesn't know me, just really briefly, so you know who's talking to you, is I'm Jennifer Main. I am highly sensitive. I would, neurospicy, um, highly intuitive, and I would say a healer at heart. I am someone who grew up as a highly sensitive child who did not understand what that was, who didn't have anyone talking about that. Nobody had the vocabulary or the language. It was not a thing. Um, and so I was picking up on all this information and not understanding what I was seeing, what I was feeling. And childhood was interesting because of that. In a lot of ways, it felt confusing, and I think I felt oftentimes a little bit isolated and alone or lonely from that. And not that I didn't have loving people around me, but I think I just felt not seen or maybe misunderstood. And because I didn't understand it, I don't think I felt I had the vocabulary or a way to talk about it that would have made sense. And my own kind of nervousness around it, I'm sure, stopped me from speaking up as well. And it's been really interesting because it wasn't until I became an adult and started to, I've studied psychology and worked with addiction and homelessness and complex needs. And then just for my own healing benefit, started to learn more about energy, about meditation, mindfulness, started to explore these realms. And it was at that moment that I realized that, oh, I'm just really super intuitive. I'm to a dialed up degree. And I've, been on this journey the last, gosh, I was going to say more than a decade. It's probably closer to two now. Time is crazy. where I've really been exploring what intuition is, how my intuition works, or the filters that it works through for me, my resistances to it, my attempts to unconsciously shut it down. I didn't know that I was doing that. I didn't know I was putting all this energy and effort into trying to control it or make it quieter or make things more manageable in my life. Let me know if this is ringing bells for anybody. If this resonates with anybody, feel free to type in the chat. Um, but yeah, this I find this a very common story or similar stories to people who are themselves very intuitive, who are highly sensitive, who are in that realm of, they're healers, they're carers, um, they're tuned in, they are connected, they're empathic in a lot of ways. Um, and it's really interesting because I've gone through all these courses and experiences, practices, all these things, and what I found over the years is there's actually a lot of misunderstanding around what intuition is. There's a lot of superstition and outdated teachings around it. And I think it's time to set all that straight because I think it's actually really disempowering when we believe that only certain people are intuitive or that you have to be on a yoga mat or in a silent retreat for a month or I don't know, in a certain place and time in order to use your intuition. Um, I think a lot of people have put others on pedestals because they are more psychic or more intuitive, when the reality is that's not really true. Um, so I wanted to spend these couple days kind of demystifying some of that, talking through what it really is and what it really isn't. So hopefully you'll have some aha moments, you'll have some moments of clarity. Again, I'm a healer at heart. So as we're talking through these aspects, there is energy moving through this. There may be times where I kind of ask if you like a healing or like the energy changed around something. You do not have to accept it if you don't want to. If you do, you can. And it's simply just setting an intention that you receive. Because again, it's not going to be as hard as we think it is. And my hope is that as we kind of pick apart the misunderstandings and the misconceptions, is that it all just feels so much easier because it is a natural part of you. It is an innate part of who you are. It's built into your body. It's built into your energy field. You are never separate from your intuition. Um, it's nothing you can push away or shut off, though many people try and have tried over lifetimes and generations for many good reasons for a while. Luckily, in this lifetime where we are here now, it's we can do things a little differently. Um, yeah, so the hope is that as we demystify these things, you just feel more at ease with it all, and it feels more natural and normal for you. And instead of it being something that's only at certain times or certain places, it's something that becomes every day because it is. So again, over these two events, if there's questions, if there's things to share, if there's things that you want to just get into a little bit more, or if I'm using language that you're not as familiar with, because we're often saying the same things but using different words or language based on, our backgrounds and our training, which plays into our intuition as well. Um, but yeah, please let me know if there's anything there. Oh yeah, I can already feel this. So let's all take in a nice deep breath. And let's just take a moment to tune into your nervous system. So tonight we're getting into kind of the architecture of intuition. So we're going to talk about the physical components of it just to start with, to get you a little bit familiar with it. And if these aren't aspects of the body you've ever really studied, if you don't remember your high school biology or things like that, that's okay. This is just going to give you a little bit of an overview of so you can kind of visualize it and understand where it works within your body. And I think once you start to understand more, I mean, we're just going to really focus on the nervous system tonight. We could include a few other systems and parts as well, but we'll start with the nervous system. If you can start to understand this and the aspects of your perception, your communication experiences, how all this ties in and plays in, it just makes it all that much easier to understand, A, where you may have been shutting things down and blocking it. We'll talk through that too. but also what you can do differently. So instead of your intuition being something that you're trying to force open or make happen, it's more of an allowing and a receiving. So we're not going to do anything over these next 2 days that's super activating and pushing energy through, forcing information through. Our bodies don't respond to that well. In fact, that makes it worse. We shut down more. Um, so intuition really is about learning how to ease in. Think of it like a warm bath, like a surrender. And the more you try to push it and force it, the more seriously you take it, the harder it becomes. And that's because you're squeezing in, you're clamping down, you're trying to control, you're trying to make. Intuition is an opening and a receiving. So I'm going to keep coming back to that, this idea of opening and receiving, this idea of being more calm and more at peace, and just helping your nervous system to kind of reset into some of those ways. So when we look at aspects of kind of that architecture of the nervous system, the anatomy of the nervous system. So if you think about your nervous system is your brain and it's all the nerves that run through, again, this is very general overview, just to give you an idea. Nerves that run through your spinal column and through your body. So you've got major nerves that run through your body. You've got more fine ones that run through. So your nerves are connected to all aspects of you. You have nerves that are connected with each of your organs and each of your systems that they help you. They really are the communicators or the relayers of communication through the body. So think of all these cords as like cables if you want to get a little bit, if your mind works in mechanical ways, if that's an easier way for you to see it. So you've got all these connections running through your body that are sending out information to and from your brain, to and from different parts of you. So this is why you can feel if you're hungry. Your stomach sends signals saying we need some more food here. Um, this is why you can feel, if you've stepped on something and cut the bottom of your foot, there's a pain signal that moves through to say, hey, there's some damage that's here. There's something that you need to look at. Pay attention to this pain because there's something going on. This is why you can feel, the clothing on your arms. You can feel the heat that's being trapped in through the clothing. Um, so yeah, anything kind of coming through the skin in terms of feeling, anything going on with inside. This is all these signals that are moving in and out. We also have um, different parts of the body that are connected with that help bring in the information. So we've got the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth are the main bits, and then obviously through the skin as well too. Um, so we've obviously got our eyes that take in our capacity to see. So we're seeing light through a certain spectrum that our eyes are able to take in, light and color. We all have a different kind of level of kind of sensitivity or ability within all of that. We often see different colors based on our own perception and points of view. Um, so yeah, so we've obviously got the visual information coming in through the eyes, being processed through the brain there. Our ears, same thing. We've got the sound, these vibrations of energy coming through. Our ears, we've got all these little parts that vibrate in our ears that create this perception of being able to hear. And again, we've all got different spectrums. Some of us can hear higher pitches, some of us can hear more quiet noises. We know that animals have very different spectrums. I'm listening to the coolest book. I will send this information in the because of course I can't remember what it's called now. I'm going to pull it up now where they're talking about how we all sense things differently as humans, but also in the animal kingdom as well, and how you can have you and like an elephant, a bird, an ant, a tiger. There's 8 of you in the same room, and you're all having a totally different experience because you perceive information differently. Your sensory organs are different. Your spectrum of what you can take in is so different. It's called an immense world. That's what it's called. It is fascinating. But what's really cool about it is you can obviously as humans, a lot of us are going to be a little bit more similar than, we're probably not going to smell as well as an elephant does or a dog. Um, but it just starts to make you think about where these spectrums lie, where some of the limitations are within it. And actually, how much are we not taking in? How much are we not perceiving because our physical senses simply don't have the spectrum to take that in? So sit with that for a moment. Just think about that. So we know dogs can hear sounds that are much more high pitched than we can. There are birds and insects that see in infrared. They're seeing a whole spectrum of colors than what we're seeing. There's bits in there about how like elephants and dogs, like dogs can take in the way their noses are built. I'm going to get this wrong, but it's the idea that every time they breathe in, they're taking in so much more smell. They have so many more smell receptors, and they can actually cycle the air through their nasal cavity before it goes out. So they smell everything so much more than us. It's really fascinating. But again, if you think about where your limitations are, where you stop and start with spectrums of things, this really helps us to understand in terms of our intuition, in terms of the energetic world, where we are limited because we are human beings and our bodies are at a certain vibration and we take in a certain vibration. That's kind of where we're at. Whereas we know that existence is all energy, and there are many more layers of vibration and information and input that we're just not picking up on. So the example I like to use is, you see me in this room, it looks like it's mostly empty space around me, but it's not. There's energy everywhere. There's something. It's not just nothingness. It's not a vacuum. But to us, because we're not seeing the molecules of the air floating around, because we're not seeing what's going on an energetic level, um, it just isn't there, or it's not in our awareness. So when we start to look at kind of like the eyes, what we take in with the hearing, what we're able to smell, what we're able to taste, what we're able to feel through our skin and through our bodies, it it kind of makes you, for me, it made me super grateful to just start to have an awareness of actually how much we do receive. But then for a lot of people, the flip side of that is this is kind of their where they feel that they're cursed. And that's the words people use sometimes because they feel overwhelmed with everything that they are taking in. It's too much light. The lights are too bright. It's too much sound. It's too noisy around them. They can't, like the seams in their clothes are itchy and they don't like the texture of the trousers that they're wearing. It's too much. Certain herbs or tastes are just overpowering. You don't enjoy it. And the same with smells. Just some things just really turn you off because it's just too much to really be able to take in. Um, yeah, let me know if this resonates with anybody. Um, so yeah, it becomes really, really interesting to start to look at what the spectrum is, the normal spectrum, and what we then stop allowing on some level. So for a lot of us, and I know that I went through this growing up, and again, this was not a conscious thing that I was doing. I wasn't aware that I was doing this at all. Um, but I can remember being a kid and being overwhelmed because I was very empathic. I could feel everything. I could feel what other people were doing around me. I could feel their emotions. I could feel the land. I could feel old imprints and memories. I could feel the history, the layers of information where I was. Um, it was really, really difficult. And I was also someone who at that point was seeing a lot. And that was became scary because again, I didn't understand a lot of this. So what happened is on an unconscious level, I started trying to close that off. So on an energetic level, I was trying to close down kind of my third eye, that intuitive center. I was trying to close down my empathic center, my solar plexus. So, what started to happen on a physical level is that I started to get migraines. I started to have digestive issues. Yeah, I started to have skin issues because, again, that skin's connected with the nervous system. So all these things were kind of starting to go haywire through my teenage years and into adulthood. What I was also doing on a kind of physical relational sense was I was pulling away. So I was doing less. I was going out. I wasn't like I was avoiding places with bigger crowds or noisier things, or if it felt like it was going to be chaotic or too much. Yeah, again, too much noise, too much light, too much input. I found myself doing less and less of that, or kind of being there for a little bit of time and saying, right, peace out, I gotta go. So missing out on some experiences. Um, so again, really isolating in a lot of ways when you're kind of pulling back, when you're shutting down, um, when you're kind of trying to separate yourself from that. So what happens is with your nervous system, again, this is all connections, it's all communication. So, again, keep those words in mind, connection and communication. When you're overwhelmed by it, or it's scary to you, or you don't understand it, and you are trying on some levels to close off your connection, you're putting up walls to the outside and you're cutting yourself off from the people that you actually want to be with and connect with and understand and have relationships with on some level. You are also closing down your communication and your expression. So you're not receiving communication that's being given to you. So you're probably not hearing things as well as you think you are. You're probably not seeing all the details that you could be seeing. You're probably potentially misinterpreting because you're mishearing and misunderstanding what information is being given to you because you're disconnecting or you're trying to disconnect and or you're trying to put up a bunch of blocks in the way. So it has this feeling of you're isolated and alone and lonely. You feel like you can't express yourself. You feel like you're not being heard. You feel like you're not being seen. You feel like you're struggling to see and hear and understand other people. You feel a little bit like an alien because you've separated yourself so much and you're not communicating very well. Oh, taking a deep breath and just let's allow some of this energy to start to just move through. Yeah. So, and this is something that can kind of unfold or amplify over years. It's probably not something that happened all at once. Um, so what's really interesting is when you're in this place of energetically or emotionally trying to cut things off. Yeah, and actually let's talk about the emotional stuff. If you're someone who's a deep feeler, which you probably are if you're here, that also becomes hard because if you feel so much so deeply, that can feel overwhelming, especially again, if you feel like you can't express it, if you don't know how to connect, if you don't know how to process it, all of these things, it all just builds and builds and adds and grows within this until you start to understand and figure it out and make some changes. So when you're cutting yourself off from your feelings and your emotions, um, you're really just dissociating from yourself and you are cutting off your awareness with yourself. You stop yourself from really knowing and understanding yourself. Because if you're not getting out and trying new things, if you're having new experiences, if you're not allowing yourself to feel and perceive and get a sense of what's going on around you, if you're not allowing yourself to communicate and share what's going on with you, again, it's withdrawal, it's cut off, it's build walls and your physical body will start to respond to. So again, that can happen in lots of different ways. For some people, it's migraines, digestive issues. It could be issues with your eyes, your ears. It could be issues with your senses. It can be issues with pain. Again, it can it can show up in a lot of different ways. Oh yeah, let's do a healing for that. Because again, remember that even if it's there's a physical issue, even if there's an emotional issue, an there's an energetic component to it too. Like they all really go together. There's never one without the other. But if you can again, if you can start to have these moments of, I understand now why I do that. I understand why I run away and why I say no when people ask me to go out. I understand why I don't share my feelings when I feel really upset. I understand why I distance myself, why I isolate myself, because it all feels like it's just too much. So again, when the nervous system, when it's in this state where you're feeling agitated or irritated, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're stressed, then the nervous system becomes dysregulated. So there's a lot of stuff right now out online, which is great. It's talking about regulate your nervous system. I want to give you a maybe a different way to look at this. Your nervous system already knows how to regulate itself. It already is, or it already can. What gets in the way of your nervous system being regulated is your stuff. It's the fears, it's the control, it's the avoidance, it's the shutdown. That's what dysregulates you. So actually, when you start to address those behaviors and those points of view and those emotions, as you resolve that stuff, your nervous system just moves back into alignment. It moves back into that sense of feeling regulated. You move out of that fight, flight, freeze. Um, you get out of that sense of being very reactive instead of responsive. So the anxiety calms, the anxiousness starts to ease. Yeah, so again, all of this is kind of nervous system connection. You sleep better. You feel more at peace. Um, your body stops dumping all these stress hormones, the cortisol, all of that stuff. Um, so again, it has this huge knock-on effect to all these other systems as well. Your nervous system, if it's out, then it affects your endocrine system, your hormones, your emotions. It affects your lymphatic system, your immune system, how your body releases waste and toxins. Like it really, yeah, it has such an impact on all these other systems. So for me, when people talk about like healing aspects and like getting bang for your buck, I'm like, look at your nervous system stuff. Because if you can get into that and resolve that, it's probably going to help with a lot of other things as well. Maybe not. It may not resolve everything for you, but I think it's a good one to go with. Oh, let's take another deep breath. There's a lot of energy clearing here. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's some comments here about body being tired, itchy, overwhelmed, numb, migraines, yeah, senses of space, being highly visual. Yeah, yeah. Being a BS detector. Noise is a big issue. Smells can be too. Yeah, these are all tied into this. So you can understand how, again, if it feels like it's too much, if it feels difficult, if it feels scary, if it feels overwhelming, why you start to pull back. It's a very natural kind of coping mechanism. When we don't know how to deal with things, when we don't know how to process it, we want to avoid it or shut it down. Those are usually the two. Or maybe we try to fight back. Again, that fight, flight, freeze, fawn, that those are the things that kind of those responses come up in those experiences. So let's talk a little bit about how intuition, how you receive your intuitive information, how you receive information from around you beyond what the physical spectrum can take in, beyond what your physical eyes can register, beyond what your physical ears can hear, beyond what your skin can feel, or in that sense. And then we're going to talk about ways to bring this all together so that your nervous system can understand it more easily and you feel more at ease and at home within your own body. Because really, that's what we're going for here. We want to feel at home in our own bodies. How many of y'all are tired of feeling like aliens, like you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing the wrong thing? Especially right now, the world's weird. But but I promise you, this doing this work can really help you to just yeah feel more within yourself. Um, yeah. So in terms of our intuition and how we receive, because it is a receiving, there's a lot of this is about what we are allowing to come in. Sometimes that doesn't always feel as clear. And let's kind of break that down a little bit. We'll maybe go into some of this a little bit more tomorrow as well, but I want to at least introduce it now. Um, so intuition's really fascinating, and our sensory inputs becomes very interesting when you start to look at how you as an individual receive it too. So the first thing I want to say is that we are each our own unique compilation of stories, experiences, conditioning, cultures, religions, modalities, philosophies, family stories. Yeah, we are an amalgamation of layers and layers of decades and generations of humanity. We're complex and we're interesting, which is why we're not the same. None of us are the same because we all have very different points of view. We all have different perspectives because all of these experiences, anything we kind of hold as part of our identity, as part of who we are, creates a filter. Now, having a sense of who you are, having a bit of a sense of identity, none of that's a bad thing. I'm not going to tell you to strip clean and become nobody, nothing. um, what I am going to encourage you to play with is this idea, and I keep coming back to this the last few months, this notion of I'm just holding everything very lightly. I'm holding it all lightly. So I'm changing things in my life, in my work. I don't know all the details yet. So I'm just holding it all lightly. I'm in the journey, I'm in the process. If I find myself starting to cling to an aspect or a label or a behavior or a whatever, then I say, no, I'm going to hold this lightly now. I'm going to loosen my grip on it. I'm going to hold it more lightly. And I think this works on so many levels. This will help to heal a lot of things actually, because it is, again, it's when we become fixed and fixated on this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I show up, this is my identity. It's the being fixed in it that creates the problems. If something is aligned and authentic and really true, then you don't need to cling to the label. You don't need to try to hang on to it. You don't need to prove it. You don't need to make it known. It speaks through you. Let's breathe through that. Um, so yeah, so the more tightly you are clinging on to these ideas of identity, these filters, these lenses, that's what shapes your capacity to receive, interpret, understand, and recognize what is true on an intuitive level. So let that settle in for a moment. Just let this start to work through. So if you have a belief that, or if your experience has been that only um, only women from a certain country who have trained in shamanic practices and have been through specific initiations and have done it for 80 years can heal or can receive intuitive information. Then part of you is going, well, I'm none of that, so I quit. I give up. It's not going to happen for me. And what will also happen is if you really cling on to that or hang on to that, then whatever you do intuitively receive information, you'll dismiss it. If you really hang on to the belief that you are super grounded in a sense that not grounded in that way, you're just so logical, so logical. Just everything is logic. You reason it out. That's your gift. That's what you're good for. That's what you're known for. That's why people hire you or book you or why your friends like you. Like that's become your identity. You're just the logical, grounded one. That's all you are. Great. Like be logical. Use your logic. Use your common sense. Use that brain. Use your intelligence. And you're probably making life really hard for yourself because most of our good answers, most of our best answers come intuitively. So you can spend a bunch of time trying to logic it all out, or you could open up that mind, hold it all a little more loosely, and say, what else is out there? What else is possible? What else could come through here? So again, you'll have thousands and thousands and thousands of different belief systems, different points of view, perspectives on all this. Some of this you may not even be aware of, and that's fine. But I just want you to start to play with this idea of what am I clinging on to within myself that I'm trying to make true, or I think it has to be true, or I'm just afraid to let it go, when actually it's maybe making things harder. It's just getting in the way. How could that be? How could that be different? How could you hold it more loosely? Um, yeah, that's a good point. Clinging to what you wanted to be when you were younger and get annoyed that you're not necessarily that. And you know what? Thank God. I was actually talking to somebody about this 2 days ago, like looking at manifesting lists and things that I'd really worked for and tried to create, and like it didn't work out. And then looking back and going, thank goodness. Thank goodness that did not work for me. And how wonderful that I can move on to something new. I would play with that a little bit. Yeah. Yes. So, in terms of these filters and lenses, the idea is that the more loosely you're holding on to these identities and labels, the less of those you're clinging to, the fewer kind of layers of that. It doesn't make you more intuitive. It just makes it easier. It's just a bit more accessible, if that's the right word. You just don't have so much stuff in the way. There's not as much noise or static or gunk on the windscreen, whatever picture or story works for you. You're just cleaning the lenses so that it's just easier. You're more in tune. And that's really what this is about. It's recognizing what it is to be in tune with it. A lot of this really is about focus. Now, I know a lot of times we associate focus with our eyesight or focusing attention, and some of that is that focusing of attention will be a part of this. But kind of that idea is wherever you put your focus is where energy flows, is where you get your answers from. If you're only putting your focus into your mind will give you some answers, may or may not be good ones. Our minds are so limited because our minds only know what they know and they only go for what they already know. And it may be that the best answer for you is something beyond what you already know. So again, I'm just going to encourage you to just play when you're thinking about again this anatomy of your nervous system, the anatomy, it's the mind, it's the senses, it's the being able to receive. If you're automatically just clicking up into your mind to get the answers, I encourage you to take a breath and say, what other information can come in here? Because you may be able to see the answer. Some people can close their eyes and they can see it all play out. Like they can see their plan, they can see what's next. They can see the kind of the timing or people coming in. Really visual people can do that. If you're not visual, that's okay. Some people hear answers. They'll just get a word drop in. I sometimes get it through songs, either a lyric to a song or there's like a memory connected with that song that there's a similar story or yeah, there's something in that. So that's why I'm hearing the song. Sometimes it's tones or sounds. It can be a beat, it can be a rhythm, it can be kind of anything and everything. Um, for some people, they get it through senses of smell. Some people smell answers. Again, sometimes they're connected with a memory or a place and it will make sense to them. The way I receive information may not make sense to you because again, it's coming through my personality. It's coming through my lived experiences. If we have different friends or we've gone to different countries, we've eaten different foods, I'm not going to get the same references that you do. It's not going to come through the same way for me because of my filters are different than yours. So one of the things that I say to people all the time is don't get caught up in comparison. Don't compare your experiences with others because they're not supposed to be the same. A, how boring, but B, it might not make sense to you. So information is coming in the way that you can receive it. But again, the clearer you can make those lenses, the clearer you can, the more you can do to resolve that static, the easier it becomes. Some people really get that a sense of feeling. Um, I was trying to explain it. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Just that sense of like, I just know when an answer is right for me. I know when it's aligned. I know when it's the best thing for me to do. I know when it's an easy yes. I know when it's an easy no. I can feel it. I can feel it in my body. My body feels at ease. It feels at peace. It just that feeling is there. If I'm going into something and my stomach's churning and I feel really off and my intuition is that feeling is like a nope, then I listen to that. I pay attention to that. We'll talk about questions and things like that as well, but that's your first sign. Let yourself get into these senses and get a sense of how you receive this information. There, we also have really clear sense of knowing. Like you might just know. And that's not your mind making up answers. That is your intuitive knowing that just has the answer. And sometimes I like to try to fight with that knowing because I don't like that answer. That's also the issue. Just because you don't like the answer doesn't mean it isn't true. And the more you're fighting it, well, you can fight it if you want to, you can ignore it, but on some level, you know if you know. So, I mean, again, I hope these are just there's some aha moments here, some moments of clarity, a few things where you go, oh yeah, I've done that before, I recognize that, or yep. If you're not sure, that's okay too, because you this is an opportunity for you to explore and to figure it out and treat this like something that you can play with. But allow the information to come through. Some people get loads of information in their dreams. It's not when they're awake. It's not when they're out having a conversation with their friend. It's when they're asleep and they wake up and they're like, I got it. Now, I will say sometimes with dreams and with the information coming through, it can come through in like metaphor or story. Sometimes it's not always the literal interpretation. Talk about the questions again in a minute. So it's worth playing with that. I mean, I have all kinds of weird dreams. I haven't seen flying sharks yet. Thank God. But I'm sure there's some intuitive message in that. So yeah, so this is really to start with, is just noticing what you notice. You noticing what comes through. And understanding it's going to be a lot more subtle than your fears. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow. If it's more subtle, if it's less loud, if it's less frantic and pushing, then yes, your fear will try to push you. Your intuition opens up and gives you the options and says, here you go. Here's how you can move forward. Oh, yeah, smells of music. Absolutely. So strong. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have so much fun with it. You're gonna love it. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. If you're open to what you thought was the answer, you'd feel more fulfilled, energetic, and healthy. Yeah, that's a good one. Because again, sometimes it's very subtle. So it may not feel like a huge relief. It might not be like euphoric when the answer comes through. Because intuition just kind of has that energy of, it is. This is what it is. And there's, it can feel more, I don't know if neutral is the right word. Neutral doesn't feel like a great description of it. But again, if it's not, you don't get high off it, then that's probably the right answer. Yeah, I totally understand though. Going beyond comfort zone, feel off. I'm not sure if my intuition is saying this is wrong or I need to push through fear. That's a great question. I'm just trying to think about whether we have time. I might come back to that tonight if I have time. If not, we will definitely address that tomorrow because that is so good. That's the juicy stuff. uneasiness in stomach and solar plexus when something's not in alignment. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so something I do want to talk to you about, yeah, we got a little bit of time. We're good. Is about getting clarity on some questions. Um, and just again, coming back to a sense of play with this. And actually, this might help carry with some of that too. Yeah, is this idea of because sometimes we'll ask a question and we'll just ask one question, and it's like, oh, that answer wasn't clear. And then we move on or we go back to the mind or the logic or the things that aren't working so well for us. With your intuition, what I say is if you'd like to do this through journaling, some people like to write questions out, kind of automatic writing and just letting that come through. If you just want to sit within yourself and ask your heart or ask your, kind of say, I'm tuning into my intuition. What are the answers here? And there's different ways you can do this. But what the questions do is they help you bring a focus in. And the better your questions are, the better the answers will be. If you ask something super open-ended, you'll get a really vague answer. If you ask something that's like an either or, it's not a clear question, you're probably not going to get a very clear answer. And sometimes you just need to keep asking and keep fine tuning and keep saying, okay, and then what's next? Or what if I did this? Or what if I chose this option? Um, because if you say, well, if I choose this, is that going to work? Well, it might work. It might not be the best option though. Might not give you the results that you actually want. It might be okay. So again, I'm going to encourage you to keep playing with the questions and just keep asking questions and see what comes through for you. Um, and give it some time, give it some space. Don't get impatient with it. I mean, your intuition is the quickest way to get there and to get the answers and to get the clarity. But give it some time and space. And again, you're learning your language of your intuition. You're learning how you perceive and receive it. So let yourself have some time with it, have some patience with it, enjoy the process. What I will say is if you feel like you're asking a question and you don't like the answer, that's the time where you need to take a breath. Because if you're trying to control the answers, you'll shut it down. And I know I've done this a million times, as we all have. Like, oh, that's not the answer I wanted. I pull cards sometimes because cards are great because they just help you focus your energy. They help you focus the question. They help you focus on the answer. And I've done it before where I've asked a question, pulled a card. It's like, don't like that. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Pull another. Same card. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Pull again. Same card. I'm like, fine. But again, that's me resisting. That's me fighting it. Um, Now you can keep asking questions. If you're like, I don't like this answer, start questioning why. See what you're scared of, see what you're nervous about, see how it's challenging you in some way. Um, and again, pay attention to the wording with it. Because if you ask, is this good for me? You may or may not get a clear answer. So I'll ask things like, what's the most aligned option for me? Or if I really want this experience to be fun or joyful or expansive or then again you're finding your focus for what you're asking about. If you just say is this a good idea? Well, I mean, what does that even mean? Yeah, I'm gonna change that. Be careful what you ask for. I would say play with what you ask and just be open to see what comes through. Again, it's the discernment in it. It's having the awareness of what you're asking. Um, and your intuition and your nervous system is your connection with truth. Your intuition knows truth. It really understands the look, the feel, the clarity, and the quality of it. Um, so if you're really wanting to connect with the truth of the situation, the highest perspective, without the filters, without the noise, without all that stuff, your intuition is the way to that. It knows it, it understands it. Whew, yeah, breathe that in. So I would say, you can break it down and you can say one day, you can say, I want to feel into this. Let me ask some questions and get the feeling for it. And some days you can say, well, let me see. Let me see if I can see some answers. Let me see if I can see the future of what will happen if I choose this. Um, yeah, keep playing with it. See what comes through. You may find that you have one or two senses that are maybe seem a little stronger or more comfortable than others. The reality is you've got all of them. You can use them all. Yeah, the energy is just a continuation of the spectrum of your senses. So you're able to do that. Oh, yeah, let's do another healing. Taking a deep breath. So the last thing I want to talk about before we finish up is this notion of also what you can do to help make it easier. So you can be highly intuitive. You can be totally in tune with your intuition when you're out in the hustle and bustle of life, when you're talking to a friend, when you got a bunch of stuff going on. Even in the chaos, you are connected with your intuition. It's also maybe there's some distractions going on there. So I would say, especially in the beginning, if you're wanting to develop it more or understand it more, if you really want to fine tune your questions and get like real details in what's going on, it's probably good to get still. It's probably good to be in a space where, you're not going to be interrupted, where you can sit comfortably, where it's quiet, where your body can calm down, where your mind can be more at ease. Oh, yeah, I can feel that. Because again, whatever anything that you're doing to kind of calm the noise, to put you in a more peaceful state, it's just going to feel easier for you to do it that way. So if you have any practices that do that, please do them. People want to be more intuitive. No. Clear your body, help your mind so that your nervous system just regulates. If you have a meditation practice, whatever that is, it can be moving, walking meditation. It can be like get out in nature, go touch a tree, um, look at art, write poetry, journal, create yourself. That's a great way to help your nervous system. Express yourself, share yourself. Let these things come out, be connected with other people. All of these things are going to be good for you. Social time with other people is good for your nervous system. Um, you can be discerning, but it's good for you. Eating, eat some sensible food. If you're eating and drinking a bunch of stuff that activates your nervous system and your endocrine system and your body, it might feel a little bit noisier inside of your head and inside of your body. So, I mean, I'm an 80/20 kind of person. I'm going to tell you that you need to just eat raw the rest of your life and sit in silence forever. No, you can be a real life human being and have a real life. Um, but having some practices that bring you back to your center, that bring you back to yourself, that just give you some space and time, and any practices that help you to develop your focus. Um, Something that I've been doing more of that I like, it was not easy to begin with, is to light a candle and watch the flame. And just start with a few minutes at first. You can set a timer. You start with 5 minutes, and just when you notice your focus moving away, you come back. And you just get to the point where you're really just with the flame and you start to feel it. You can actually feel the energy of the flame. You can see how it's moving in an energetic sense too. You might be able to connect with the energy and receive that from the flame as well. There's so many things you can play with. But just keep upping that, then make it 10 minutes, then make it 15. But what you do in these with these practices is you're retraining your mind so that instead of defaulting to the noise, the knowing, the you got to do it this way, it's got to go through these beliefs, this is the only way to do it. You're showing your mind, no, 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 no. There's another way to focus. There's another way to do this. You're reprogramming yourself. And instead of being reactionary, you come back to a place where you respond to life, where you respond to what's before you, as in when you choose to respond. That's intuitive living. It's not just a kick, go. There's a spaciousness. There's space and time to consider and to discern how you want to show up, what you want to say, who you want to be in that moment. So there's so many practical applications for understanding your intuition and learning how to tune in. Like I just like for me, this is kind of the key to everything. You'll be amazed at how once you really start tuning in more, once you really allow yourself the space and the time to get into these states, to be in these states, they just become more natural and regular. You will become less reactive and more healthily responsive. Your relationships will improve. Your own self-esteem and self-confidence will improve because you are more willing to express yourself and share how you're feeling. You'll be more seen and heard and honored and respected. You'll be a better leader. You'll be a better friend. You'll be a better partner, a better artist. Whatever these important aspects of your life are, I say better in the highest sense. It will feel more aligned. It will feel healthier. You'll enjoy it more. You'll feel more natural. It won't be something you're having to push and force. It's something that flows within and through you. So take a moment and just breathe in that possibility. Um, so something that I would encourage you to start doing, if you don't have a regular practice, maybe look at that. But something very simple that you can do that's effective is nasal breathing. It's just breathing in and out of your nose at your own pace, however deep you want. But even just doing that for 5 minutes, that just that simple nasal breathing helps your nervous system to calm. And as your nervous system feels more calm, the noise dies down, the distractions start to dissipate, and your focus starts to hone in. So instead of fighting yourself, instead of trying to fight against the world, instead of trying to fight your chemistry, all the noise and the distraction, you give yourself a chance by saying, I'm taking 10, 15, 20 minutes today. I'm going to do some simple breathing. I'm going to connect with my body. I'm going to ask myself some questions and see what comes through. I'm going to play with this. I'm going to let this be an exploration. I'm going to be curious about it. Being curious about it is the best approach. Let me just see. Let's just see what happens. And if it doesn't feel immediately like easy, great. Just keep practicing. If you're not sure of the questions, you can actually tune in and ask what questions to ask. That's really fun. You just kind of go, what questions should I ask next and see what comes through. You're really gonna have fun with that. Um, but yeah, but yeah, this really is about disrupting some patterns of just reacting in the moment, of just saying yes when you want to say no, or just refusing and saying no when actually it might be good for you to say yes. Um, so any of these kind of automatic knee-jerk reactions, suspend them, give them some space. Um, and yeah, again, anything that you can do, breathe, move, meditate, get your body moving in healthy ways, write some poetry, paint a picture, do something creative, do something that feels good. Self-care, like really, truly, self-care is the best way to be intuitive. Let me take you through this. When you actually take care of yourself, like true self-care, not eat a bar of chocolate, drink a bottle of wine, like really true self-care. You feed yourself, you drink some water, you look after your mind, you consume things that are good for you. You have conversations that are interesting and stimulating. You're around people and places that are pretty cool. Um, then you automatically start to heal because you've started treating yourself differently. If you are not looking after yourself, it's neglect and abuse, really. You don't respect yourself. Just breathe that in for a moment. And it may be that in most areas you do, but there's a few areas where you're lacking a little bit, and that's okay. Those are the areas to focus on. All the excuses that you're making up about why you can't look after yourself and why you don't have time to tune into your intuition and why you can't whatever, whatever, whatever. That's you denying yourself your own gifts. That's you pulling yourself away from who and what you really are. You deny yourself your intuition. You deny yourself truth. That's it. Nobody can hide it from you or take it from you. So, yeah, I'm really going to encourage you to hold it all loosely, to treat it as an exploration. You get to try it out and see. You get to play with different ways. You get to play with the questions. You get to understand your body a little bit more, understand your nervous system a little bit more. Um, yeah, it's people are seeking answers all over the place and they're all inside of you. You've got them all there. If you give yourself a chance to witness them, that's it. Um, yes. So I'm going to take us through just a minute or so of just some nasal breathing and just an opportunity to let your nervous system calm down because I know there's been a lot of information for tonight. Got another night tomorrow, another opportunity. Um, and if you got any last questions that you want to type into the chat, we've got just a couple minutes left, so type those in. I do want to honor your time, so I'll do my best to finish on time, but I'll make sure I address them tomorrow if I don't tonight. So again, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. Just let your brain start dropping into those slower brain waves. And if you're able to, breathe in and out of your nose, just at your own pace, at your own time. And it's just a nice, gentle in and out. If you're stuffy or congested or that's not working for you, in and out through your mouth is fine too. But again, you're not pushing or forcing, but you're letting that breath move deeper into your body. And you may notice that the room seems a little quieter. You may feel the tension releasing from your muscles. You may notice that your mind's just slowing down a little bit. And you might actually start to notice that just because you're focusing right now, that information or answers are already starting to come through. So if there's an aspect of your life, there's a choice you're trying to make, take a moment and just ask a question or two of your intuition. You can ask for the highest truth and just notice what comes through. If you don't totally understand, ask another question. If you want more detail, ask for some details. And if you feel yourself tensing up, feeling fear or doubts creeping in, you just keep breathing. Allow your body to relax again. Release any attempt to control it. This is an act of allowing. It's easier than you think. If you want to just sit in this for a few more moments, please do. Just aware we're at the end of our call for tonight. One thing I just briefly want to share is that if any of this is resonating with you, if you really want to go deeper into this, I've got an online weekend, Practical Intuition, coming up the 7th and 8th of February. Time has been set for UK, Europe, and Eastern US. Um, we got people from a few continents joining. I'm so excited. Um, and in that, we really have time to kind of deepen this exploration, to explore some things, to again demystify, work through some superstitions, and see what comes up for you. So if that feels aligned for you, you'll receive a link to have a look at it and see if it calls you. You're very welcome to join if it does. So tomorrow in our next event, we are going to look more around those differences between fear and intuition, between emotion and intuition. So you can start to differentiate what's what, because that's often where people get very tripped up. They get very confused. They're not sure what's the intuitive message and what's their subconscious getting scared or nervous about it. So that's a lot of what we're going to do tomorrow is kind of work through that, create some new understanding around it, and give you an opportunity again. If there's questions, if there's things you're exploring, there will be some space to kind of work through that. So you'll receive link to the recording for tonight. And again, thank you if you're here live. Thank you so much. If you're watching the recording, thank you as well. Please get in touch if any questions come up, if there's anything that feels important that you're not quite sure about. I'm really, really happy to hear from you. But yeah, just I want to thank you all so, so much for joining, sending lots of love and healing to each of you. Yeah, and yeah, and just leave you with this last bit of knowing that it's a process. It's an again, it's an exploration, it's an unfolding, it's a journey, and it can be light, it can be fun, it can be really cool because we're all really cool, right? We're interesting. Yeah, and this is something that you can really, really have a lot of fun with. Yes, so start playing with those questions, see what comes through, and yeah, hopefully I will connect with you all tomorrow or in the very near future. So thank you all so, so much. Speak soon.